Our journey takes us to one of the oldest haunted insane asylums in Ohio, the Athens Lunatic Asylum. This asylum opened its doors around 1874, specializing in treating the mentally and criminally insane patients who were admitted by the court or their own families. The facility originally started out as a calm and pleasant place where patients could relax and get better. But before long, it soon started way before trending #insanity came about, which overcrowded the institution, which relied on the cruelty of practices of electroshock therapies, ice water baths, and ice pick lobotomies. In 1977, Athens Asylum made news when it accommodated a multiple personality rapist, Billy Mulligan. He was in a highly publicized court case. Billy was found to have committed several felonies, which included kidnapping, armed robbery, and counts of rapes on the campus of Ohio State University. While preparing for Billy's defense, a psychologist diagnosed Billy with multiple personality disorder, which he suffered from early childhood. He was the first person to use multiple personality disorder as a defense and was also the first to be acquitted of such a major crime for this reason. Billy visited several state-run mental hospitals, including Athens. While his stay in those other hospitals, Billy was reported to be having 10 different personalities, but later they discovered 14 more. The following year, another creepy story arises. The story of Margaret Chilling, which took place in December 1978. On this winter day, Margaret, a patient at Athens Lunatic Asylum, was playing hide and seek with the nurses, who got distracted and forgot about her. Can you believe that? Forgot about her. She was discovered 42 days later by a maintenance worker in an abandoned ward that was once used for patients with infectious diseases. Margaret was found completely naked with her clothing neatly folded next to her body. You can still see her imprint of her hair and body on the floor where they originally found her. It comes to no surprise that the historic Athens Lunatic Asylum is allegedly haunted. One of the most famous ghosts you might see is of Margaret Chilling. Her spirit is said to have appeared staring down from the window of the room where her body was found, and has been seen attempting to escape. Margaret has also been known to wander around various parts of the building at night, along with other visiting patient spirits who have died or suffered at the hands of the staff at Athens Asylum. So if you happen to visit Athens Lunatic Asylum, you might encounter seeing strange lights and strange figures standing in the empty rooms, along with hearing squeaky gurneys and high-pitched screams echoing through the walls. We come across Down Under to an insane asylum, to Beechworth Lunatic Asylum in Australia, where over 3,000 patients died. Beechworth opened its doors in 1867, and for over 128 years, thousands of men and women have endured the worst Victorian ever treatment in the Beechworth Lunatic Asylum. One of the more frequently seen ghosts is believed to be that of Matron Sharp. She has been seen walking into classrooms in former dorm areas, and she has been known to glide down a granite staircase on the premises. Legends has it that Sharp was uncharacteristically compassionate towards patients at Beechworth, and even after her death, she could be spotted giving them comfort. Reportedly, nurses would report seeing the matron sitting with patients who were due to have electroshock treatment. Those who say they've witnessed this say the room was icy cold, but her presence was comforting. A more frightening haunt is that of a patient who disappeared and was found several weeks later in a tree. Max, the resident dog at the time, was discovered chewing on a leg near the entrance to the grounds. It was here that the lost patient was found, decomposed so badly that his leg had fallen off. The ghost of this patient is known to be seen haunting the asylum entrance early in the morning. Its particularly brutal history has made Beechworth home to some of the most intense paranormal activities in the area. The Green Villa Wing was where patients waited for electroshock therapy. Visitors today report that the area is icy cold, and there are a number of patients and doctors who some say still wander the halls of Beechworth even after death. One woman was pushed out the window because another patient wanted her cigarettes. The chilling vision of her body lying where it fell from the window has been seen by a number of visitors. One visitor claimed to hear the sounds of children laughing and playing through the deserted grounds. Her son, who had come along for the adventure, was caught talking to himself. When she asked whom he was speaking to, he replied that he was talking to James, a boy he'd met who'd lived at the asylum. Once you were admitted to Beechworth, or any asylum of the area, it was near to impossible to be discharged, thanks to the crazy talking walls and the crude medical practices of the time. There was virtually no escape. Approximately 1/3 of all patients who entered Victorian Australia's network of asylums never made it out alive. Let's hear about another horrific asylum, which was the second largest asylum of the world, the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum in West Virginia, where it considered shock treatment, cage confinement, and ice pick lobotomies to be normal practices. Allegheny Lunatic Asylum admitted its first patients in 1864. It was supposed to be a place of peace and restoration, but it soon devolved into madness and destruction. It wasn't always a nightmarish facility. In fact, when it was custom built in the early 1850s, its conception marked one of the first hopeful developments in centuries for mental patients. The building was the brainchild of Thomas Story Kirkbirdie, a doctor and crusader for the mentally ill, who founded what would in time become the American Psychiatric Association. Allegheny could house 250 patients, each with their own comfortable room. Skilled stonemasons had been brought in from Germany and Ireland to contribute to the architecture that featured wide open windows, giving patients access to natural light and fresh air. Then, in 1881, disaster struck due to an increase in mental health diagnoses and the stigma surrounding the disease. The Allegheny Lunatic Asylum found its tranquil facilities overrun, housing almost 500 more patients than they ever imagined. The hospital couldn't keep up. Conditions began to decline dramatically. Patients were crammed together with sometimes 4 or 5 to a room intended for one. By 1938, the Allegheny Lunatic Asylum was 6 times over capacity. The patients inside were running wild, and orderlies outnumbered struggled to regain control. As it peaks in the 1950s, the hospital was holding 2,600 patients, more than 10 times the number it was intended to house. Then a reporter took a crew to investigate, and what they found shocked them. The overcrowding had resulted in overworked staff and a decreased emphasis on sanitation. The once bright, clear windows were covered with grime, darkening and further chilling the rooms. The wallpaper was peeling from decay, and where it had disintegrated on its own, the patients had torn it off in panic. Worse still were the patients themselves. Patients were sleeping on the floor and in freezing rooms due to a lack of furniture and heat. Those whom the orderlies deemed unable to be controlled had been locked in cages in open spaces in an attempt to make more bedrooms available for less worrisome inhabitants. Today, Allegheny is a public attraction. Many visitor guides and investigators report having seen apparitions of patients, nurses, and doctors roaming through the halls. The ominous shadows of Civil War soldiers can also be seen on the property. The manager states that she once saw 40 doors suddenly slam shut simultaneously, while other visitors have witnessed a ghost boy standing in the corner of a room, as well as sightings. Whispers of forgotten patients have also been reported. On top of unusual smells, the sounds of squeaking gurneys and screams coming from the electroshock rooms. The most famous ghost of the Allegheny Asylum is a young girl named Lily. She politely makes herself known to people by interacting with several toys in a painted peel room specifically dedicated to her. However, Lily isn't the only child ghost at Allegheny. There have been many reports of children haunting the upper floors, trailing behind people around the buildings, and sometimes even following them home.